So I invited you on specifically to talk about first generation professionals, which you discuss in your book as a marginalized group in the workplace. And as a
Hmm.
first generation professional myself, I came up from working class roots to become the first in my family to graduate with a 4-year degree and enter a white collar career. And since the late 2010s, that's pretty much been the formal definition of a first generation professional. But more and more, it seems to me that this definition is expanding to include a variety of individuals from backgrounds that are more first gen adjacent than actually from one themselves.
Hmm.
My hot take is that this scope creep can have the effect of eclipsing the individuals that the term was originally meant to make visible. So, my question to you today is, why does it seem like the definition of a first generation professional is experiencing scope creep? And what do you think is driving that?
Well, the typical psychologist, it depends. I have a few theories. My overall, I think my top statement, what I say in my book is, while there's so many different experiences at work, and yet most people, I would say over 90% at least, are not happy at work. They don't like their boss. It's not going well. Now, the extent to how damaging and how much it blocks their success, absolutely, there's varying degrees among identity groups. Right now we know Black women are leaving the workforce in droves, being pushed out. So somebody who's like me, looks like me, can't say that it's the same level of impact, and yet both of us can be unhappy. So I think there is a latching onto this term because a lot of people are going to work maybe the younger for the first time and being like, what is going on? Because it is a completely different culture, and all of its power, why it's unwritten, all of its power is in being unspoken. All of its power is in trying to make you feel gaslit that it's just a you problem. It's not a shared experience, because if it's a shared experience, then you can have a movement. I also think that because we already have the term first generation student, that there can be some confusion, because if there's first generation student, then the first generation professional has to be different. Now, because you've read my book, because you reviewed some of the chapters, thank you, that I say in my book, I'm not a first generation professional, my father was. So I have not claimed the term, but it does pull a feeling from me of like, yes, my dad was the first to go to college in his family. But he worked most of his career at a pulp mill, right? In the very small rural town where I was born. And so when I went to larger cities, a big university, white collar work environment that was not a pulp mill, I still felt like, what the hell is going on? Right? So that also is like my nuance with, understanding class. And I hadn't even heard the term first gen professional at the time. So I could see someone who knows I'm not a first generation student, but maybe my mom went to college but was a stay at home mom, or, my dad has a degree but did blue collar work, that they might see themselves in this. Maybe it's a different term that they don't have language for. That's one of the most common things I hear from people is, you're putting words to something that I have felt but not had language for. But of course, there's the risk, as there is with anything, of if this term means anything, then it also means nothing. And that can also, you could have a conspiracy theory behind that as well, on, is that part of the point? Is, well, if we're all first generation professionals, then does it need support and discussion?
Right.